Welcome to Awakening Streams, the podcast of One River Zen Meditation Center in Ottawa, Illinois. Hosted by Sensei Michael Brunner. Learn more, donate, and practice with us at oneriverzen.org.
When we first come to the practice, we get ourselves trapped in this notion of seeking. We look so desperately here and there and everywhere for the essence, right? For what the truth is. We think something is missing, and so we go looking for it. And what's so frustrating is that the more we look, right, the further we get away from it. It can be so frustrating, and so we look even harder, and we get so exasperated because it seems to elude our grasp the more we try to find it. There's a case in the Mumonkan, it's the 19th case, and it's titled, "Ordinary Mind is the Way." And in this case, we have one of the most renowned masters of all time, Joshu, present as a student, but actually as a student very late in his practice. He's already experienced some Kensho, working with his teacher, Nansen. The case sounds like this. Joshu earnestly asked Nansen, "What is the way?" Nansen answered, "The ordinary mind is the way." Joshu said, "Should I direct myself toward it or not?" Nansen said, "If you try to turn toward it, you go against it." Joshu asked, "If I do not try to turn toward it, how can I know that that is the way?" Nansen answered, "The way does not belong to knowing or not knowing. Knowing is delusion. Not knowing is blank consciousness. When you've actually reached the true way, beyond all doubt, you'll find it as vast and boundless as the great empty firmament. How can it be talked about on a level of right and wrong?" And at these words, Joshu was suddenly enlightened. So anytime we have a case like this, and there's a pointer where it says, and at this person received enlightenment, that's where we're asked to look deeply into what is there. How can it be talked about on a level of right and wrong? So both of these characters, Nansen and Joshu, actually began their practice relatively young, and experienced some powerful Kensho, or insight into their original nature, when they're actually in their teens. So even for you young folks, you're still a little behind. So this case is actually pointing to a much deeper level of attainment. As we continue to practice, we'll experience many breakthroughs. But Joshu, as you can see here, is still very confused. He's trying to really capture the essence of the way. He's seen through to his true nature, but there's still some impediments. There's still some karmic residue going on here. Nansen actually had that breakthrough in his early 50s, and most people believe that this case is Joshu in his early 50s, actually having this final great breakthrough. And so this question of the way, right? This is the Tao that we refer to in Chinese. But it really there's a dichotomy within the way. There's a way of everyday life, right? This is a relative way. This is kind of a road or a means. It's the way of everyone. It's the way of everything. Right? And then there's a notion of this absolute way. Absolute way is monolithic and impenetrable. It's beyond any thought or concept. It can't be approached from the position of thought or concept. So that makes it particularly challenging. That's why when you come in and you have to present your koans, right? The moment you say, "Whoa," stop right there, right? That's a dead presentation. If you try to explain it, you've lost it right there, right? So Joshu obviously knows the difference between these two, because he actually had to, by this time, had experienced many kensho. But he had some still trace of clinging in his heart. And so here he is trying to clarify this great matter by going to his teacher. His teacher responds back with, "Ordinary mind is the way." What is this ordinary mind? We get up in the morning. We argue with ourselves about sitting meditation. And we finally roll out of bed and land on the floor. Yeah? Crawl in and brush our teeth and throw ourselves on the cushion, more or less reluctantly. It's that way. It's the way of eating breakfast, of playing with our kids, of getting ourselves to work and having meetings. All of that is the way. It includes all the joy and all the sorrow in the world too, all the laughing and all the crying, all the beautiful sights on the way. That's the way. We don't even really at this point have to use this notion of mind, because there's nothing separate. We can just say way. But it's important to notice that whatever you're practicing, wherever you're actually putting into practice is the way. If you're studying koans, your koans are studying you. Your koans are the way. So until you've realized definitively by experience, you're not going to be able to actually penetrate where this is pointing. Because we actually sit and we try to label things. Right? We try to focus our attention on the small, then we miss the large. It's where Nansen's pointing when he says, if you try to point towards it, or turn towards it, you go against it. The more you seek it as something separate, something apart, something rarefied that you can dissect and understand, the further you get from it. I've said it many times. We go to the shore and we see the vast raging ocean pounding on the sand. We say, it's beautiful. I'm going to put some of this in a jar and take it home. I'm going to show my wife what it was like to be here, yeah? How does it look? It's stale, stinky salt water by the time you get it home. It has nothing to do with the essence of what you experienced. But when you actually show up and you realize the suchness of things just as they are, then you see it. Master Tozan pointed it when he was asked about the way by actually just holding up a bag of flax that was present and saying, this flax weighs 3 pounds, masa again. It's just the suchness of being here, being with it. When you're truly at one with anything, then you're at one with your own true nature. Yeah? And then you'll see yourself very clearly when you let go of any other delusion of self and other. So Joshu is still a little put off by this response. Yeah? So he retorts with, if I don't turn towards it, then how am I going to know it's the way? It's a reasonable question. Yeah? It's a reasonable question. And I'm sure that all of you who have wrestled with this, right, understand the anguish that comes here. Nansen replies, the way doesn't belong to knowing or not knowing. Knowing is delusion. But not knowing is a blank consciousness. The supreme way Supreme way is beyond both of those. It's not something you can dissect or understand from the position of your discursive mind. It's something you have to open up to purely and experience. You can't measure it. You can't weigh it. Yeah? When you've reached that great way beyond all doubt, because doubt is still your way of trying to dissect it, then you'll experience it. It's as vast, as boundless as the great empty sky. Yeah? How can we even discuss it in terms of right or wrong? With this, the sun broke through those clouds. Joshu was able to appreciate precisely where he stood. Both feet planted firmly in the way, right? Talking to his old teacher and realizing that he was addressing himself. Till you experience this way, right, you're still going to be gripped with delusion. You have to let go. You have to let go of your reasoning and your intellection. When you do that, you'll find the way is beyond all words or gesturing and pointing. But you can gesture and point in the general direction. But you realize deeply that I can't explain to you what it's like to kiss. Right? You have to actually kiss, to do it. To actually understand what's present, to really apprehend it. And to embody it. There's a verse that's coupled with this case, and it says, "The spring flowers, the moon in autumn, the cool breezes of summer, the winter snow. If idle concerns don't cloud the mind, this is man's happiest season." When we're detached from useless matters, like trying to dissect the reason behind things, and trying to discriminate or hold it separate, then our mind is truly at peace. Then we can actually recognize the goodness in every single moment. Every single moment, moment by moment, is the happiest of our lives. Even when we're crying. Yeah. Even when we're in pain. The Mind of Absolute Trust, Shinjinmei, starts with a very simple proposition. It says, the great way isn't difficult. Just avoid picking and choosing. I know we look at that, we often roll our eyes, but that's the truth of this great matter. You're never going to appreciate it until you appreciate it directly. And you're never going to appreciate it directly until that judging mind is dropped off. Until you put some distance between you and your reason and your intellection. And you're able to see it for what it is. But then that begs the question, then who am I? And when you can drop that question off and see it just embodied in every action, every breath you take, then you've attained the way.
Thank you for joining us. If this podcast was meaningful to you and supported your practice, please give us a hand by joining us at oneriverzen.org.